Have you ever had that feeling? You're looking at a name and you realize you can't remember the last time you talked to a once close friend. One day you were inseparable, and the next, just silence. It's this quiet, really painful ending that, well, most of us have gone through. Today, we're going to dig into the hidden psychological reason behind it, using the ideas of the brilliant Carl Jung to figure out why this happens so often.
Just think about it. Scroll through your contacts right now. It's kind of filled with these ghosts, isn't it? Names you once trusted with your deepest secrets, friends who swore they'd always be there. And now, crickets. We tell ourselves, oh, it's just life, we grew apart. But the truth is often a lot darker, and it's lurking just below the surface of our awareness. So to really get this, we have to talk about one of Carl Jung's biggest ideas, the shadow. Now, think of the shadow as this backpack you carry, but you pretend it's not there. We shove all the parts of ourselves we don't like into it. Our insecurities, our jealousy, our envy. The thing is, it doesn't just disappear. It operates in the dark, and it pulls the strings on our actions without us even knowing it.
Okay, so let's walk through that graveyard, shall we? These endings, these silent goodbyes, they're not just random accidents. They actually follow a very predictable and kind of tragic pattern.
And here it is. This is the heart of it. The silent killer of so many friendships is almost always shadow envy. It's not the big, dramatic betrayal you see in a movie. No, it's more like a slow-acting poison that works in the dark, destroying the relationship from the inside out, while you're both still smiling and pretending everything's just fine. So where does this poison even come from? Well, it starts to seep in the moment a friendship's unspoken foundation starts to crack. And that foundation? It's the illusion of equality. We start most friendships with this beautiful fantasy. We're in this together. We're on the same team, running the same race. And for a while, that feels true. Your wins feel like their wins. But the harsh reality is that time is, well, it's merciless. Our life paths always diverge.
And this right here is the turning point. When you get that promotion, when you find a great relationship, when you reach a goal, your success becomes a mirror. And for a friend who feels stuck, looking at you is suddenly like looking into a mirror that reflects back all their own perceived failures, their own lack of progress. And that reflection is painful. So their shadow kicks in to protect them.
This quote from Jung just nails what happens next. The envious friend, who is now totally possessed by these feelings they can't even admit to themselves, starts to sabotage the relationship. They fall into their own traps, convincing themselves that you're the one who's the problem, all so they don't have to look at what your success stirred up inside of them.
Okay, so how does this shadow envy actually, show up? It's not like they have an honest conversation with you. Oh no, it seeps into everything you do together in these subtle, toxic ways that are really hard to name, but absolutely impossible to ignore.
And these signs, I bet some of these are going to feel very familiar. That feeling of support just vanishes, and suddenly it's a silent competition. Compliments get that little sting at the end, right? Wow, congrats on the new job. Must be nice to get so lucky. Then you hear they're gossiping about you, but it's framed as just being concerned. And your biggest achievements? They're met with this polite, hollow applause that feels colder than ice. Your joy literally makes them uncomfortable to be around.
Looking at these signs, does a face or a situation pop into your head? It's a really painful thing to recognize, but it's so incredibly common. If you feel comfortable sharing, I would genuinely love to hear about your experiences with this down in the comments. And pretty soon, the friendship it isn't a friendship anymore. It becomes this secret scoreboard. Every piece of good news you share isn't a moment to connect, it's just another point against them. Every single conversation turns into this hidden mental math of who's winning and who's losing. And that trust, that vulnerability you once had, that's the first thing to go. This leads us to the next really twisted stage of this whole thing. When the envious friend just can't handle their resentment anymore, they have to find a way to justify the distance they're creating. So they make your growth into a crime. And this happens through another one of these key psychological tricks, projection. Basically, it's when a person takes their own ugly feelings, in this case envy and inadequacy, and unconsciously just pins them on someone else. They can't admit to themselves, your success makes me feel bad about myself, so their brain just flips the script. And that script sounds a lot like this, doesn't it? Every one of these is really a translation. You've changed actually means
you've outgrown me and I'm scared. Success went to your head means your success makes me feel small. They're not even reacting to you anymore, they're reacting to their own shadow, which they now see every time they look at you. So, you see the psychological payoff here? By making you the villain of the story, they get to keep their own self-image intact. In their mind, they're still the good, loyal friend who just got left behind. It lets them turn their own ugly envy into righteous anger. And you become the scapegoat for their own unlived life. And all of this, it leads to the final, quiet, painful act. But as Jung would tell us, even in this sad ending, there is a deep, hidden meaning. There's an invitation in it for you.
Friendships that are poisoned by shadow envy almost never end with a big, fiery confrontation. No, they just fade out. The text responses get slower and slower. Then they stop. Plans get canceled again and again. You hear that vague, yeah, we should totally do that sometime. But sometime never, ever comes. Until one day, there's just nothing.
And this ghosting, this silent withdrawal, is often way more agonizing than a real argument, because it completely denies you any sense of closure. There's no fight to make up from, no accusation you can defend yourself against. You're just left alone in the silence, replaying every last conversation, just torturing yourself, wondering, what did I do wrong? That ambiguity, it's maddening. But this is where we can find a new perspective. Jung's most famous quote gives us the key. Losing a friend this way feels like a cruel twist of fate, doesn't it? But it's not fate. It's the unconscious shadow at work. And just understanding that, that's the first step towards freedom. So here's the final idea I want to leave you with. The death of a friendship like this, maybe it's not just an ending. Maybe it's an invitation to look at your own life, to do your own shadow work, and to keep growing unapologetically. What leaves your life creates space, and what's left is the powerful, lifelong journey of becoming more fully and truly yourself. Thank you for exploring this really difficult topic with me. If this way of looking at things resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to Mindscope Philosophy for more explorations into the deeper currents of our lives.